Welcome to this episode of Living Liberty. I'm your host, Shannon Stallings. In this episode, we've managed to get out of town, and we're here in Tallahassee at the state capitol, where we have the good fortune of being able to interview Jody Fitzgerald, the first female lobbyist in Tallahassee. She's been kind enough to agree to show us around the capitol and to give us a little bit of information about how legislation passes. We're here in Tallahassee standing with Jody Fitzgerald, who was one of the first female lobbyists to come to Tallahassee. And we're here in the Senate chamber. We're fortunate enough to have access to this thanks to Ms. Fitzgerald and the Senate Secretary. So, Ms. Fitzgerald, could you let us know how exactly you became a lobbyist?
Well, actually, I came here in 1975. I had 4 children. They were very young and kind of had worked before that quite often. And so they were all in school. I was kind of playing like the train station mom, not always filled with business. And there was an opportunity to lobby for a group of exceptional children. And the federal law was just coming to the state of Florida where permitting exceptional children to be mainstreamed into the school system. And so I interviewed for the job and became a lobbyist. That was 30 years ago, so, or maybe, I'm sorry, it was 40 years ago now. Wow. That's awful. So it's not quite that simple anymore to become a lobbyist.
So what exactly is a lobbyist?
A lobbyist is one who works for an association or an organization, or for themselves if necessary, that has a clear objective in mind. And the lobbyist listens to that organization, understands the goals and objectives, and then they come to the legislature and they try to communicate, and I say try, desperately try, to communicate those goals and objectives to the legislators and follow the bills and whatever is associated with that group's interests, you try to be involved in.
So how does a lobbyist then differ from, your ordinary person on the street who has something, a bill or a group that they're interested in? Is there a difference between a professional lobbyist and just an individual coming of their own initiative to the Capitol?
Yeah, there is. Obviously, lobbying has become a very sophisticated operation, and even a lot of training goes on even with lobbyists. But the issue is the lobbyist is always here and always working in the Capitol and pressing the issues, and people in the Capitol, the legislators, recognize them as being a representative of that group. These are people that need to register with the state of Florida. I'm not sure if there's a fee now. It's been a while. But there is a very demanding reporting mandate that goes with that registration. Mm-hmm. And the not reporting can turn into $100 a day. Oh, wow. Fine. And you may have to go before the ethics committee. So if you want to come and be a professional lobbyist, then you need to seriously know what goals you need to achieve and realize the kind of time you need to put in physical presence in the Capitol. Okay, now if you're a citizen and you have these same goals with associations, you can, without registering, lobby your legislators at home. Okay. You can write letters. You can make brief appearances in Tallahassee, visiting these same legislators, your home legislators, with the same ideas, or if the lobbyist needs, then takes you to another legislator to explain what you're doing, then that's okay. I mean, it's not not illegal to do that, and there isn't a reporting situation. So if you have a goal, then your representative is just that. Right. That's the person you are legally entitled to speak to at the home, in your home.
I would be concerned maybe that the blurred line between the lobbyist and the activist, could almost quash some speech. That would be a fear of mine, that people would be afraid to come and speak to their representatives for fear that they, would be considered lobbyists and have violations.
No, unless you were actively here Um, what would be complicating maybe if you came and said you were part of an association and offered a view that was other than their own, and you stayed here, did it every day, went to committee meetings, spoke at committee meetings, you would then be considered a lobbyist.
Okay.
Now, if on the other hand, I represented the Florida Library Association for about 25 of those years, and I would be a registered lobbyist for the Library Association, but I would have many librarians come and testify before a committee for the goals that we were trying to achieve, and that was true of any of my clients. And that same librarian from, say, Pasco County, from Panama City, from Bay County, could come at any other time, definitely be welcome in their legislative home, like in Bill Mumford's office or Bashir's office, without, communicating their goals. But they wouldn't want to, they might stay in the Capitol if they're told by these people, well, so-and-so is having trouble, President Hill is having real trouble understanding, and you make it so clear, could you go speak to him? That would not be considering, quote, in the law. But if that same Bay County lobbyist came, or, and he stayed here every day, then I say that we would register, definitely register. Now, I have worked for groups, and I have worked for an individual. And even when I did work for the individual, I did register, because that individual had a specific point of view that he wanted me to share with as many the necessary legislators. Now, when a lobbyist lobbies, they lobby more than just obviously the group they're in, but they also are selective in their lobbying. I mean, they're going to lobby in, well, maybe we should let you ask some questions, and maybe we'll get to where we are. Okay. Well, they're going to lobby with the bills that come up that are very specific to the goals of that association. So they aren't going to be lobbying every bill in the House and the Senate.
And so that gets us to exactly how a bill comes into formation. We're sitting here, and we can see the Senate chamber behind us. But I learned today, really for the first time, that the debate that goes on down here is not necessarily the best access point for community opinion. And you mentioned committees. How exactly do committees play a role in the formation of legislation?
Well, okay. The committees really, a few ways. Legislation can come through your local representative or senator. And that's a group going to them and saying, this is a really terrible problem, and would you be interested in helping us solve it? Now, it could be a statewide problem. It could be a local problem. It could be statewide. I mean, you don't always need to have, with libraries, obviously, sometimes it was statewide, sometimes not, because, some counties did not have libraries. So you could go to different legislators and ask. And that legislator may be interested enough to say, well, could you outline what you need? And then they might send that outline to bill drafting. There's a bill drafting in both the Senate and in the House. And these are professional people, lawyers, who will take these ideas and try to put them in an appropriate wording so they would fit into the Florida statute. Or the lobbyists might write language themselves and offer it to the representative and say, here's what we would really like to see. And the representative then obviously is going to make choices. He's going to say, well, I can't do that, I can't do that, but might send that draft to bill drafting. But then the bill drafting sends it finally to the senator or the representative. He then assigns it, and then it gets filed. Then we go to the committee process. Okay.
So the bill drafters, they work for all of the House or all of the Senate, regardless of political party?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. But they're different. But the Senate has its own bill drafters.
Okay.
The House has its own bill drafting.
And the senators and the House representatives, they do not have to use those bill drafters then if they don't want to?
I think all bills have to go through bill drafting.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they just for clarity and whatever, but the ideas come from the representatives or the senators themselves. I mean, the bill drafting does not come up with an idea. It will only put the goals of whatever you're trying to do. Now, there are interim projects that the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House may assign to the different committees. The chairman of that committee will generally then be responsible for helping them get into written form those goals. Again, that's another way that a bill is normally filed and put upon. But
Okay. And so then once they've been drafted, these proposed bills, um, how do they go into committee and who?
well, okay, first of all, they need to be filed.
Okay.
Representative files a bill separately. Senator files a bill separately. Now, each side then is compelled to find the person on the other side to file the same bill. And a lobbyist tries to do that, find a suitable sponsor in each chamber for the bill, because usually if you have a bill that's only filed in one house, chances are good it's not going to go anywhere. So you need to understand that when you begin on this venture, you're going to need both sides. You have a vehicle in both houses, both chambers, should I say, so that we get to the end. So then when they're filed,
Okay.
and hopefully you have one in each side, then they get assigned to committees. And depending on the subject matter, that's entirely up to the President of the Senate or the Speaker of the House. So they have total authority in that case.
Powerful people.
They are powerful people, but then the bill goes to even more powerful people, the chairman of the committees,
Okay.
who have been appointed by either the President or the Speaker of the House. And they will determine the priority of this issue. And then that's when your representative or your senator tries to lobby the issue. Then that becomes his kind of internal issue here,
Okay.
to get it on an agenda.
So can I ask you, in terms of the timeline, we are not in session here yet.
Correct.
But we are about to be in session. Does this filing of bills and finding, which representative or which senator might be interested in moving your bill, is that something that happens during session, or is that something that happens before?
No, it happens a long time before.
Okay.
People are out there right now filing bills. There are probably a number of bills filed,
Okay.
and they're probably online to where you can see them. People start filing right away.
So tell me then how we do find out about those bills.
Okay, if you go on Online Sunshine,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's on Sunshine Online or Online Sunshine, you'll find all you need to find about the legislative process. They have the members of the Senate, the members of the House, and more importantly, the aides and the assistants in each of those offices. Those are people that are crucially important to the process, especially if you're a citizen. You need to really be familiar with those people, because very often those are the people that you will do the most dealings with.
Okay.
But that information is online. The bills are online, both separately, the House bills and the Senate bills, as well as the text of those bills. So it's a little hairy,
Okay.
but they're there. And also the committee structures will be online. So you'll see the chairman of the committees. You'll see what areas they're from. And that will sometimes make a difference. If you have a bill that's really important to the Panhandle and you have a senator from Miami on the committee, it might be a little hard to get him interested in the bill from a Panhandle, unless you have a president from the Panhandle. Then, if you have a president from Miami and a chairman, then it might be even more difficult. So, yeah, you need to keep in communication. If you have an issue either through your organization, and that's what a lobbyist does. A lobbyist is constantly pushing to bring those things to the attention of the committee, to the committee chair, to the people back home. So you've got to provide that link, because the lobbyist doesn't do it. The people at home does it, but the lobbyist is in contact with many, many people all over the state.
Now, the committees, I honestly always thought of committees as a kind of closed room activity. I thought that the senators and the representatives negotiated among themselves, and then when it came out on the floor, that's when people became involved.
Well,
Is there a role for the citizen in the actual committee meetings?
well, you're talking pre 1974, I think, when Dick Stone passed the Sunshine Law in Florida. It was quite unique, and I think people suffer with it, but they also, but also for the citizen, it's a great privilege that we enjoy in Florida. That means that any issue that comes before an elected body, no matter whether it's at the local level or at the state level, needs to be in an open forum. So whenever these bills are heard, the issues are heard, then that needs to be in an open forum. And the citizens may come to that and speak to that. Lobbyists, since they're registered, can come anytime. And to do that, you fill out a card at the committee. No guarantee that you'll be able to speak. Again, you have a chairman who is making the decision of whose testimony they really want to hear on this bill. And usually they'll hear so many from the opposing side, so many from the supporting side.
Right.
You know, so that the members of the committee have listening, and they're debating all the time. So you're sitting watching it. I found it rather to be an enjoyable educational experience.
And you actually provided us, we picked up, going by the office today, a Senate interim calendar. And this tells when the committees meet?
Okay, yeah. Now we're in interim. That's a good word to have. This is before session begins, and so that goes to your question about timing.
Yes.
So I think this is the second. I think the interims probably began in January. They did. So they've already had one set of interims.
Okay.
So this is the second one. There are actual bills that have already been agendaed on this committee.
Okay.
And their hearings will be at these times. And inside it tells you which bills they are, what room they'll be held in, and who the sponsors are. And so if you go online, Sunshine, and you want to read what's in those bills, you can find them. And if it's a House bill, you go to the House legislative bills and go to the number, and you can read the bill. So if it looks like something that might interest you, you got to kind of scan through it and see if it really does interest you, or might go in a way that would interest you.
Right.
You know, you kind of learn that, but that's essentially what's happening now. This is probably one of the more, it's easier to be heard during interim sometimes than it is during regular session, because definitely all the lobbyists will be there, but few citizens really come during interims. And so, I mean, if you find a bill here that you really feel you need an input in, chances are that you might, you know, if you can kind of say on the card what you want to testify to, you might have a really good chance if it's a point that they know they probably would not hear from a lobbyist or from an association.
Okay.
So interims are a good way to do it. Also, this calendar is online. The interim calendar is online for both the House and the Senate, and they tell which bills have been filed. So back here, you see here's a bill 264 by Sachs, texting while driving. And it says, refers to communication, energy, public utilities, transportation, fiscal policy. So that's the committee it's going to, which handles all that subjects. But texting with driving. So if you have a really strong feeling, or you've had a child or an adult, anyone injured,
Right.
because of texting, you might have a real personal input about a bill like this. I can see that happening easily. So, you know, I'm sure that AAA will be here, and they'll have their lobbyists and people who are interested in that. Maybe the phone companies will come and say, yes, we want to text everywhere, anywhere we can, all the time. Who knows? But that would be a really excellent place for the citizen input. That's a great bill.
And then once the session starts, how long is the session?
Session's usually 2 months. About I can't remember. It's 60 days. Yeah.
Consecutive.
Yeah, and then it's just morning till night. My favorite part of this job always is whenever I walked into the door of the Capitol, no matter what I had planned, would never happen. Never happen. You know, you'd always run into this person. And so when you come to the Capitol with a message, You need to have it really in your mind in a short way to say it.
Okay.
A short way to deliver it, because you won't have that much time. There are so many people here who are paid mega bucks. I did this before mega bucks came along, by the way. Who had mega bucks, who have been talking to these people in their homes. They go back to their districts. They go all over the state. They're traveling all the time doing this. So if you come as a citizen, you need to have your issue really boiled down. And so you can, I said, if you can't deliver it in an elevator ride from the first to the second floor, then you're lost. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be that desperate, but, you know, it should be what is the problem? How does it affect the community? You know, what are the suggested remedies? Can you help us? That quick.
Okay. And speaking of the elevator, one of the things I wanted to ask you to help us with or to do with us is to show us around the Capitol building.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
I would like for our Franklin County residents to really feel comfortable coming here and expressing their views whenever they get a chance. So we'll go do that now.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Shannon.
All right, Ms. Fitzgerald, do you recognize this place here?
Okay, we're standing in front of the doors of the House of Representatives. And unfortunately, although we just did a tour of the chambers, they won't let us film inside. And they're doing a rather brave situation of cleaning the Great Rotunda, so it's almost down on the floor. So, but we did get in, and Shannon picked up a copy that's right outside the door of the great murals that are inside. They're painted by a Florida artist, and they're all very different and unique. And this is go ahead and tell them what's in there.
This is a little description of each of the murals. It gives a history of the portraits and their basis. Also, in this chamber is where our representative, Halsey Bashir, sits when he is looking out for our interests. So we got to see his seat. And there is also in there an area where the public can come when they're in session and look down and watch the proceedings in there as well.
Right. And, you know, we talked a little bit about, we didn't talk a little bit in the Senate side about what happens, about the speaker. I guess we should have while we were up there. But there's a similar situation in each gallery or in each chamber. There's a podium where the speaker or the president stands. Then below him is a cadenza. And on one side stands the reader of the bill. According to Florida law, each bill must be read 3 times. The first time of reading is published in the book, which you can find online, or if you come here, you can maybe see a copy. The next time it's read, it's usually read just by title and what it's about. Unless a member insists to kill time or for some political reason, the bill is never read in its entirety. But anyway, the reader also then reads amendments to that bill as they're presented in the folder. On the other side, right across from him, the same cadenza, usually on his left side, is the secretary. There's a secretary both in the House and the Senate, and they keep the rules. They watch Robert's rules. They help the speaker follow with that. They keep the proceedings straight as far as the amendments going. They make sure those bills get properly in folders so that nothing is missed, and when it passes to the other chamber, that it is in its entirety. All the amendments that passed on it, all the amendments that failed, everything is complete when that transfer goes across. Then they're also responsible at the end of session, wherever a bill might pass last, to make sure that it's clean and gets to the governor's office exactly as the legislature intended it to be.
And since the bill does have to move both through the House and be approved in the House and the Senate, where we are actually right now is just across the way from the Senate chamber that we were in before.
And we're in the 4th row rotunda, where most lobbyists live. So there didn't used to be chairs here, and people started bringing their own chairs, and then some people began to leave them. So I think that whoever's in charge of the Capitol in turn decided to provide chairs. So maybe your cameraman would be good to maybe take a picture of the chairs and see where the lobbyists, they usually watch the action out here on television. And believe me, they're watching every word of every bill. They don't leave for anything, whether they're interested or not. You have to make sure that there's not an amendment in some obscure bill that's going to hurt you. So lobbying is a little bit complicated. Usually there are more than one people watching all these bills. And the same is true on the Senate side. The chairs are there, and in the middle there is a rotunda or a desk-like, and usually there are people behind it to kind of help you, tell you kind of what's going on. Oh, I'm not sure whether, believe me, I've not been here, not been back. I don't know if that's true any longer. There may not be a need for people to be behind that desk, but I know the lobbyists use it a lot. They store their material there and they write and they, flutter around because they don't have offices here. Some think they do, but they really don't.
Well, maybe we'll take a look around, walk around a little bit.
Yeah, that would be good. As I was telling you, here are the chairs. Looks very comfy, right? And the televisions. And some of the lucky people get the chairs, and some firms just pay people to sit in these chairs all day. So the people who are kind of real, the rest of us have to kind of stand around and watch the television, go up, watch the gallery. Kind of frantic. But here's the desk I was telling you about. And sometimes there are some tools back there that people will let you use, maybe a copier machine or a Xerox. No phone. I mean, everyone now has a cell phone, so no one needs that kind of service any longer. And when I was lobbying, they did have people back here to more or less assist you about where to go, because the building plans change here a lot. And then if we're standing right in the middle of the rotunda here, and I'll let the cameraman get here and kind of pan around, you'll see similar chairs, different colors for the Senate side, of course. The Senate doors. Okay. And the televisions down there. And the elevators. And we're on the 4th floor rotunda. And that's the doors of both capitals. We did look at the Senate doors. Okay. Inscribed on the walls above that, up to the 5th floor, are all the Florida facts. So that's always entertaining to see, whether you come to the Capitol during session or not during session. The 4th floor rotunda is just a good place to come to get a lot of Florida history very quickly and in one place. Not on paper, not on the internet. Okay? The 5th floor is your entry to the galleries in the Senate. We're not able to get into the gallery of the House because of some renovation stuff they're doing, but it's very similar to the Senate side. And so the public usually goes to the 5th floor into those galleries to watch the proceedings on the floor.
Thank you for joining us this episode of Living Liberty. I hope that you enjoyed our tour of the Capitol, and we'd like to thank Jody Fitzgerald for showing us around and giving us the ins and outs of the legislative process. We'd also like to thank Senator Bill Montfort for making his offices and his staff available to us, as well as Halsey Beshears for making his offices open to us as well. We'll see you next episode, Living Liberty.